I'd like to know if the council is interested in moving forward if we don't use the carbon fee and dividend as the basis, but something like planting trees or something. We need to do something.
We do something all the time.
You've
I
been the
think-
leader of our sustainability, and we haven't done anything for what, 10 years, 5 years?
No, I do not agree with you.
Okay.
We talk about it with every project. I think we do that. That's why we're doing the way we do stormwater management, when we do all of our things.
That we
That's why they've changed.
We replace the trees. We don't do anything extra to plant trees. We take the trees out. I heard today that we replaced them. And of course, they're smaller.
You've heard for a long time now that we replace them.
That's what I mean. We're replacing them. We're not
Right.
going beyond that, placing trees in the ground more.
Right, in many cases, our removal of trees are really optional for us. They stand in the way of some drainage project that we could not do without doing
Right.
so.
When we plant new trees, in the context of the project, when you ask the question, we replace the trees, but we plant trees too. Like, we're not replacing the trees that are down the highway, we're putting new trees. So we do pull old trees that are dying and things like that out.
But
So,
not to the scale that what we need. I
well,
guess is
we got
what-
4.5 square miles. I mean,
Yeah, we don't have a lot of open fields.
Nancy, we have.
Over the years, I think Merriam has worked very hard to be a sustainable community by taking part in the challenge that we did a number of years ago, by planting trees wherever possible. Ultimately, it is, and it will continue to be a partisan issue. I do not think that it's a city to pass this kind of resolution is what we as a city should be focused on. I think we can, by individually contacting our representatives, I think we can be more of a voice that way than as a council. I just do not see this as our role.
The state's not doing it, the nation's not doing it. Where else are we going to do it?
Those are great questions. I think and I'm going to make some assumptions. If you ask the average citizen of Merriam what the role of the council is, they're going to look at the streets, the sidewalks, they're going to look at snow removal, they're going to look at providing services at the lowest tax level. They're going to be looking at police and fire protection. They're not going to be thinking climate change.
Will they be thinking about NDOs that we passed?
I think the NDOs, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the NDOs did potentially impact residents directly.
So is this.
Not directly.
Sure, it's directly.
Show me where it
And
has.
Whitney just talked about the
I know
bridge
that-
floating down and hitting the fence.
Okay, but that's from a rain event. It's not like they didn't have rain events 50 years ago.
But it's getting worse is the problem. That's documented. It's heating up in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's why.
Well, let me ask you this. If we pass this resolution, is it going to stop that?
It's going to tell other cities that we are a forward-looking city, and that they
Okay.
should join us.
They're going to stop the rain.
No, of course not. But we have to get something on the books that's saying Merriam is supporting the idea.
I
that
think
need
we
to
all
mitigate.
generally support that. We talked about a lot of things that we do. We're not saying that we don't support it. I think the reason why I have the most problem with this is not because of what it says, it's because it causes the council to engage in a conversation like this. This is a national debate. We're now debating whether or not, and at what level we believe climate change is something we need to be involved with. You know, I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I don't know if you know that or not.
I know that.
I could bring in some guys from NRA and we could talk about whether or not we should pass a resolution in support of our Second Amendment rights. I don't think I would never do that, because there's not a place for that
It's
in
an
our
amendment to the
council.
Constitution.
But it's not a city council issue. I could do the same thing on abortion. Again, it's not something that we want to debate. And I'm not trying to make the comparison. These are all very important, large issue national debates. I just don't know whether a city that's 4.5 square miles needs to be in the middle of it. So maybe we do. Or maybe I'm just being a little old-fashioned.
I think we're
That's
supposed
why I
to
don't
be
have a
leaders.
vote.
We're supposed to be leaders in the community. I guess that's my point.
So what we need to do, Mr. Neal, do you have?
Again, I feel like we're in a time where there may be some shifting understanding in the public space that we do need to be aware of that. But there, again, are things that we should be looking at that are concrete things that we can do by example at a local level that are appropriate to consider on a policy level. I also recognize that this is a major, I believe this is a major issue that we don't have time. But there are so many components of solving this problem. It's not just the fossil fuel industry. It is funding research on ways to remediate the problems, to sequester carbon. There's some economic opportunities there. It's a big question, but it's beyond the scope probably of the city council and Merriam right now, other than to do to
Like the sheet of paper I just passed around.
to consider some of the things. The biggest, number one thing that if we could fix that would do some good, according to that very book that you talk about, is refrigeration that's lost into the atmosphere, because refrigerants create a lot of problem. And those are things potentially that may affect, may be impacted by local government and our adoption of codes and things like that. So there are things that we can look at rather than that are not necessarily federal change. I don't know. Maybe there are. Maybe there aren't. But and I guess. But the point is that there right now there's people that think that it's a problem, and think that it's other people that think that it's not, and that's a very divisive issue, and that's probably hard to have at a local level. We don't want to create a situation where we're all mad at each other because of something that's kind of above our pay grade. I mean, it's not really above our pay grade, but we can make it above our pay grade if we get into these really high philosophical arguments about it, and that's something I don't want to really do.
I'd like to thank the council for all their comments and stuff. And I still like you.
Before we close it, wouldn't this be
We still like you.
more of a topic for like League of Cities, for Mark? We went to that housing conference and there was a lot of cities sitting in one room talking about one subject. Okay, rather than, and I agree, we've got to make some changes. I don't like the tax idea, but we've got to be a smarter society, so that, because I have grandkids as well. We got to be smarter as people and those kind of things, but I don't think that's our subject. I think if it's going to be from the bottom, let's make it this metropolitan bottom up, not Merriam up. Okay, because I think we got to have a stronger voice than just that one. And when you have that community, that collective voice, you're going to have a much more impact on state level, and then hopefully from there from a national level. So I'd like to see. I would take your presentation to an organization that has a bigger impact than what we have.
Well said, well said.
Okay, so I would need at least 4 to move this to a resolution. I don't know that we have 4.
You have what?
4 people,
4 people?
at least 4 council members to agree with,
Just 4?
well, at least, maybe 5.
To get the staff to write a resolution that we can
I
then
thought it was 5, but go
take
ahead.
forward.
I could go with 4.
And I'd like to remind council how valuable staff time is
Oh,
and how
yes.
much they're committed to so many immediate, impactful issues to the city.
Like climate change.
Okay, don't think we have, so we'll move on. Thank you. very
Thank
much.
you, thank you, everybody.
If there are no other issues, I think, and there are none as far as I know, I'll entertain a motion, second to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.